So for the past couple weeks, I've sold a few of my own NFTs, and I've talked to a lot of other artists and photographers in this field, and I just kind of done a lot of research on the, let's say, more of the practical side of selling NFTs and like philosophical side of if this is gonna continue, being a thing. And I just want to kind of share an update, share my thoughts on the subject. Let's start with the value of NFTs. Now, in the previous video that I made, by the way, if you don't know anything about NFTs, you should probably check that out first. NFTs are a way to sell your art digitally on the blockchain. You just kind of sell a token of ownership. But anyway, in the previous video that I made, I was still fairly skeptical on this subject. I wasn't sure if, selling just a token would last. But now that I've been in this market for a couple of weeks, I'm more confident that it is like a legitimate thing. Because here's the thing, humans place value on the weirdest of things. You may argue that NFTs have no inherent value, but a lot of things have no inherent value. And the only thing that actually matters is that there are buyers willing to spend their money on these things. I guess the easiest way to think of NFTs are just kind of like collectible items in a video game. They are basically just pixels. A lot of video games just have items that don't even have any function other than to show off, and people pay a lot of real world money for them. Or another example I can think of is Pokemon cards. These things are just, pieces of paper worth maybe 10 cents each. All the rest of the value is tied into, the story, the brand, people wanting to buy specifically Pokemon cards. It doesn't matter that the thing is like actually not really worth anything. Another thing that kind of helps you understand the value is just look at it from the perspective of buyers. I recently found one article on Medium. I tweeted or retweeted that article. You can find it on my Twitter. Basically, a collector of NFTs is talking about why they make these investments, why they like doing it, and why they invest in certain artists over others. And, a lot of it is to do with, just wanting to support that particular artist as well. And maybe I'm biased because I've been in this market myself. So of course I want to believe in it, but it is not the craziest thing. As long as there's buyers willing to spend money on it, then it is a legitimate thing. Now, of course, it is very much tied into the whole cryptocurrency thing. NFTs are kind of a controversial subject. I was kind of surprised that I got a decent amount of hate talking about it on Instagram, but I guess it's like one of those things that is just difficult to get. There's a lot of misinformation about environment and all this scary internet money thing tied into the cryptocurrency that a lot of people still don't fully understand. So if you're someone who doesn't believe in cryptocurrencies, NFTs are probably not for you. Also, if you are someone who doesn't believe in capitalism, and there's a couple of those people in my Instagram comments as well, then you are also probably not gonna like the idea of NFTs. But otherwise, here's why I really like the idea of NFTs. Because now artists can really just focus on doing what they do best, making the kind of art that they really want to make, and then they can actually make a living from that. Previously, the only way to really make a living from making digital art or photos was by selling the rights to those photos or just selling prints. And that, even if you have a massive following, that really doesn't add up to enough income to directly make a living from doing that kind of artwork or photography. You would have to do other related things. Like at the very least, you would have to do either like workshops or YouTube or online courses, or if you're an artist, like commission work, or as a photographer, like wedding photography or product photography, real estate photography, something like that. But now, if NFTs do continue being a thing, and I increasingly think that they will, it allows you to sell just the artwork. So at least theoretically, this should allow more and more artists to really focus on their artwork, which means that we're gonna see much better art in the future. And artists are usually not the most high earning people. A lot of them are kind of living hand to mouth. And I'm really happy to see a lot of artists who were, financially struggling make these decent amounts of money selling their NFTs. And it's really like, that is what it's all about. That's what makes me also want to invest in other people's NFTs myself, now that I've made, some profit off of selling my own things. Now, how do you actually sell your NFTs? Perhaps luckily or perhaps unluckily, depending on who you are, your follower count, especially on Instagram, has very little to do with whether or not you can, make sales on NFTs. You might get 1 or 2 bidders of Instagram if you have like 100,000 followers, but your network of, NFT enthusiasts is so much more important than just have like a pure big number of following. So if you're willing to market yourself on Twitter and Discord and your work is of high quality, then that is gonna, allow you to make money from this. So if you're one of those people who were terrible at, growing a following, but actually have decent, work, then this is like a godsend for you, as long as your work is up to a certain standard and of certain desirability. Because there's also a difference between going viral and then creating work that can make sales. Now there's a couple $100 entry barrier to minting your work, or maybe at cheapest you can get away with like 60, but you have to time it right and you have to be on the right platform. So how do you know that your work actually has a chance of selling? I think the best way to determine whether or not your work has a chance of selling as an NFT is if you get decent, reactions on social media or otherwise, and you're not using some, like viral gimmick or trendy thing at the time. So, probably like making one of those, this is what I mean when I say I live in Japan reels, is probably not gonna sell that well as an NFT, or doing like a fairy light portrait. Even if it gets a lot of likes on Instagram, it may not sell as an NFT because it's not original at all. But if you do, relatively original art and then you post it somewhere, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and then it gets, really good reactions, then you for sure have a winner. Now, if you don't, it may just be a marketing issue, or it may, be a problem with your art. It is really difficult to judge your own work objectively. There's 2 kinds of people. There's basically people who are super insecure about their art, and then there's people who are overrate their own art. But yeah, that is just one side. The other side is marketing, knowing how to get your work out there. It can be as simple as simply like finding the NFT communities, those NFT accounts on Twitter, and just interacting in the community and occasionally dropping your link on Twitter. The more you participate in the community, the more knowledgeable, the more caring, and the more you help the community, the more chance you have to attracting the attention of potential buyers. If you read the article I have linked from the perspective of the one buyer, it's also about your own personality, and then the story of your art. It's not just about the art, it's about you as well. Make people want to invest into you as an artist. So if you have an interesting story personally, share it. Don't just hide behind some anime avatar and never talk about yourself. And if your artwork has a story, tell it. And also, I must mention, getting on Foundation or any other platform, not as important as simply, advertising your work and to the correct people and having the right kind of work out there. So if you find yourself looking for Foundation invites instead of like actually actively participating in the community and promoting your work on Twitter, you may be doing the wrong thing. Now, if you don't even have a Twitter account, as an artist or photographer, I made a video talking about how to grow your Twitter account. You might want to check my previous video. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the NFT, revolution at the moment. I'm not saying that everyone's gonna be a millionaire with this, but I think certain types of people have certain types of people have a decent revenue stream as long as they do things right. This is not something you can just use as a cash cow quickly. You really have to get into this. You have to be into not just your art, but also the community. If you're not into cryptocurrency, it can be sort of intimidating to start, but it's fairly easy at the moment. I'll link some useful videos on how to get started as well in the description. Anything you guys would like to talk about, my comment section is open. I read all of them, at least most of them. So yeah, leave me a comment. You want to ask something or talk about something. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.